Imagine you are relaxing on a laid-back Saturday afternoon. You are alone and enjoying your day when you hear a knock or a doorbell ring. You see two smiling people who want to talk about your day, but then they slowly start talking about the Bible and how the Bible had accurate prophecies in the modern era. You close the door. Who are these people you rudely slam the door on? Chances are they are either the Mormons, who are typically younger and mostly men, but no, they were older. And strangely, you notice they lived in your neighborhood. Who are they? You never met them before. Well, if you open the door and apologize to them, they will tell you they are likely the Jehovah's Witnesses. First, let's jump from beautiful Seattle to the headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Warwick, New York. Although their headquarters in Brooklyn was iconic and central, the church decided it needed a little more space and freedom, so they moved to upstate New York to Warwick. But where did they start? What is their history? For that, we'll need to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the 1870s. The beginning of the Jehovah's Witnesses all started with the Bible student movement by the independent minister Charles Taze Russell. Congregants of his church and other churches based on his teachings called themselves Bible students. Studying the Bible in independent ways, Russell and his students found many mainstream Christian beliefs to not have a basis in the book. These beliefs, such as hellfire, the second coming of Jesus in bodily form, which I will go into further in the belief section. Based on these new views and independent interpretation of the Bible, they concluded that Christ already returned as in spirit in 1874, signaling the beginning of the end of days. Based upon this new information, Russell and his adherents began to try and spread the news. In 1878, he began a religious journal called the Herald of the Morning, and later called the Zion's Watchtower and Herald of Christ's Presence. Followers of Russell and fans of the magazine started meeting throughout the Pittsburgh and New York area for independent Bible study and Russell's interpretation of the end of days. By 1880, there were 30 congregations, where Russell himself would oversee study lessons and provide guidance about how church meetings should be run. All these churches and many more remained independent until 1881, when an organization called the Zion's Watchtower Tract Society, ran by William Henry Conley, made an agreement with Russell to form a non-profit to help distribute Bibles and lesson plans to other independent congregations. He also used the organization to recruit and train missionaries throughout the world, and by 1910, this organization had over 100 missionaries to the new faith. In 1909, Russell moved the headquarters from Pittsburgh to Brooklyn to reach a larger audience. By the time Russell died in 1916, his organization and his Bible students numbered 50,000 members. In 1919, the Watchtower Society that Russell formed before decided to elect Joseph Franklin Rutherford, though controversially, as the new president. The event was so controversial that the Bible student movement split to stay independent organizations rather than be under Rutherford's leadership. During Rutherford's leadership, the society introduced some of Russell's studies and criticism of Christian involvement in wars, especially during the Great War. When this idea was taught, directors of the society were jailed under the Espionage Act of 1918, but were released and charges were dropped in 1920. This teaching of conscientious objection to war became a core belief during this time. Under Rutherford's management, the society began to centralize control of all the independent churches and have a representative of the central office report to Brooklyn each week. In 1922, the society stated that door-to-door teaching would begin. Also, new teachings and doctrines began to split the organization again, with tens of thousands leaving to form a new Bible student organization. Controversial ideas, which I will discuss later in the belief section. In 1931, Rutherford called for the name of the society to be the Jehovah's Witnesses from a Bible verse, Isaiah 43:10. The name was used to distinguish it from the other Bible study movements and also to highlight their active proselytizing approaches. Rutherford also changed the church organization from local leaders to new theocratic central rule, where pastors were appointed in Brooklyn headquarters. Another new belief was that when Armageddon happened, the 144,000 which would go to heaven would not be the only survivors of the apocalypse, and that they would be the rulers over the earth, and all the active witnesses would also live in the new paradise. During the 1930s, national salutes and pledges were considered forms of idolatry, which led to widespread violence against the witnesses throughout the Western world, especially in Nazi Germany, where 2,000 members were killed for conscientious objection and failing to salute. In 1942, Rutherford passed away, and when he did, the church reached 113,000 members and had 5,323 congregations around the world. After his passing, the church commissioned a new Bible, the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures, which was finished in 1961. The church also pushed for stronger moral codes and enforcement of said codes by the local churches. Recently, in 1972, local leadership was restored, and in 2014, the church moved to Warwick, New York from Brooklyn. Now that we have gone over their history, let's go over how the Witnesses are organized. The Jehovah's Witnesses are a hierarchical organization with the governing body presiding over the church. They consider this to be a theocratic organization that is managed by God. The governing body is a patriarchal group with 7 members. All these members are anointed, supposedly to be among the few going to heaven. Members are chosen by the governing body and serve for life. The body directs committees that run the church, publishing newsletters and evangelizing. They appoint branch committee members who oversee the local churches as if they were area managers. These overseers also appoint local ministers and elders in each kingdom hall, or their local churches. Each congregation is ran by elders and minister servants. The Witnesses do not consider the elders to have administrative power, and that is given to ministerial servants who run church services. To be a member of the congregation, baptism is required, and a witness-specific one at that. All other baptisms done in other Christian congregations are not considered valid. An infant baptism is not practiced. The church has 119,485 congregations and 8.3 million members. Let's look at what those members believe. One of the primary beliefs of the Jehovah's Witnesses is that the organization by Rutherford established the restoration of the early Christian church that was originally established by Jesus. The church believes in gradual revelation that is given to the governing body over time from study and reason with the help of the Holy Spirit. The church has a unique view in the nature of God, who they call Jehovah. They reject the Trinity and only worship Him. Jesus is considered His only perfect creation, and in the church's opinion, the only real intermediate between humanity and God. They also consider Jesus to be the Archangel Michael and Abaddon when referenced in the Bible. The church believes in Satan and believes he was once an angel, but him and other angels challenged God's authority, who later became demons. Witnesses believe that Satan and his demons roam the earth and actually rule the world by controlling governments as if they were puppets. They get this information from the book of Revelations as a sign of the end of days. Members believe that Jesus already came back in 1874 as a spirit, and we are living in the end of days right now. Witnesses believe that Jesus started to rule in heaven as king of God's kingdom in 1914, and it was then that Satan was banned from heaven and released to earth. They believe that all their religions, which they call Babylon the Great, would be destroyed by the United Nations, which is odd, but anyways, that will start the times of Great Tribulation, where church members will directly be attacked by Satan. And when that happens, it will start the Great War of Armageddon. All non-believers will be destroyed. After which, Jesus will rule the earth for 1,000 years, during which non-believers will be resurrected and judged. At the end of 1,000 years, Jesus will give the power back to God, and God will test humanity one more time by releasing Satan and his demons, and those who fail will die, but everyone else will live in paradise. Yeah, that's a lot to take in, but let's keep moving on. Let's go over their biblical beliefs in particular. The Bible itself is considered to be historically and scientifically accurate and reliable, and most of it is considered to be literal, except for some parts that are considered symbolic. Regular Bible study is encouraged, but independent doctrine unique to the church is highly discouraged. Members are told to never question the leadership of the church, nor to read publications from other religions. Jehovah's Witnesses maintain a policy of separateness, where they try and avoid deep connections with the outside world and only maintain superficial relationships to keep jobs or to follow the basic laws of the land within reason. Despite this, the church maintains active proselytizing around their neighborhoods. Members talk about the Bible and their Watchtower magazine to try and get converts. Marriage is only between members of the faith, and all other marriages are strongly discouraged or maybe even sanctioned. They do not believe in divorce unless there was adultery involved. Members are pro-life and anti-murder of any sort, even in times of war. Homosexuality is considered a sin, and so is gambling, being drunk, or using drugs, though drinking moderately is allowed. Members do not take part in politics, celebrate nationalistic holidays, or take part in the military-industrial complex. Let's go over how they differ from traditional Protestant churches. Jehovah's Witnesses do not celebrate any religious or nationalistic holidays. The religious holidays they feel have too much paganistic elements for them to be considered Christian. Unlike most monotheists, they do not believe that everyone goes to heaven and that most people and their souls die forever. Witnesses do not use any religious symbols as they feel it takes away from worship of God. Witnesses only worship God and believe that Jesus was his perfect creation. Witnesses do not believe in hell and find the connection to hell loose in Christianity and pagan in nature. They also believe the second coming already happened and the end of days is now. Now let's go over some controversial beliefs. Witnesses do not accept blood transfusions, which violates their belief that blood is a sacred thing and should never be shared or spilled. If a member gets blood transfusions, it's ground for expulsion. If the option is blood transfusion or death, the member is supposed to choose death. The church is also very hard on disobeying members. In some cases, when members commit a serious sin such as sexual misconduct or apostasy, a judicial committee is formed to judge the member. If a member is guilty, they may face disfellowshipping, where contact is limited to direct family members until local elders allow disfellowshipped members to reapply to be a witness again. This is done to get rid of bad influence in the church, but seems very hard on the disfellowshipped member. Members who want to leave the church are listed in the Watchtower literature and are listed as wicked and are also shunned by church members.
Many of their practices and beliefs may seem extreme, but there is a few things to consider. In their opinion, the end of days is now. They view the earth as getting worse and worse, and disfellowship makes leaving extremely difficult. If they left to become atheist or another religion, they'll be disowned by their family and friends. That is a tough decision for anyone to make. So next time they knock, have some compassion for their plight. Maybe even listen and debate a while. You'll at least get an epic story in the least. This is Tim Huggins signing off.